And what do you like in the process of doing all this the most? Like, because you do lots of performing, massive crowds to play in front of, crafting songs, writing songs. What do you like the best?
It's a great question. It's a great question. I just opened for Wendy Matthews and Grace Knight on the weekend at Downstone. They're the shows I love to do. That's my wheelhouse. I love it. It's what you work towards in your career, you know. But interestingly enough, and I say that because, interestingly enough, I've made that a big part of, you know, my life, but a big part of my musical existence. You know, the Australian Idol thing and then these kind of shows. And like you say, I did symphony, big crowds. I know how to work a crowd. I know how to do that. I didn't get into music to be a performer. I know that sounds ludicrous. I never had visions of myself in front of big audiences. I did it because I wanted to make up songs. Yeah. Write songs, you know, is the correct term. But make them up, just make them up out of thin air. I can't read and I can't write music. But you can make songs up. And to this minute, that's why I love the question so much. What do I love the most? I love actually going to Rob's and we have a cup of tea or whatever, a cup of coffee. And he goes, right, got any ideas? Yeah. I go, yeah, I have actually. Yeah. And it might just be the smallest idea or he might have one to show me. Yeah. And it's great. But yeah, I love it more than... I had some good shows on the weekend, so I still enjoy that side of my life. Yeah. But I've done a lot of it, you know, thousands of gigs in my life.
So when you get to a song that you're trying to work on or you want to write a new song, like, do you have places that you go to draw that inspiration from, or does it just come to you every time? Okay.
Another great question. I used to talk about this stuff with my brother, Courtney, because he would say, I just haven't felt like in the mood, or I sort of wait for, and I kind of discarded that way of thinking a long time ago. Partly because, you know, I wanted to have new material anyway, do you know what I mean? So you go, I always feel like you're waiting around, you know, for inspiration. You could wait a long time. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So, no, I'm a big fan of music as well, right? So I often say that, you know, if ever, you know, my fingers fell off or you know, and I couldn't sing anymore, it'd be okay. Life would be okay because I could listen to music. You know, I'll hear a track or a track really excites me and I go, oh, you can feel the juices where I go, I want to do one of those or it just sparks an idea. And maybe I've just been, you know, working that fertile soil in my brain for so long. It doesn't take much, you know, for a little spark to go, oh, did you hear that? We could do that or see what they did there, you know.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Good Vibes Show. Today I'm joined by singer, songwriter, musician extraordinaire, performer, Chris Murphy. So great to have you on the show.
Thanks, Marie. Good to be here.
Awesome. And Chris is also the singer for our theme song.
You gave it away! No one knew!
Oh, they didn't know you were a secret.
Good vibes show. So good.
It is so good. Thank you.
Everyone's now, it is to him, yeah.
Yeah, it is very good. Awesome. And so we want to talk about what it's like to be in your shoes and make the awesome music that you make. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the new songs that you're doing at the moment, the projects you've got. Because you've got a lot of stuff that you do, right? You have a band with your brothers.
My brothers, yeah. Well, yeah, I have got a lot of things on the go. And I know you had Rob Agostini from Soundbaker on Good Vibes just recently. So I've been writing with Rob for close to 3 years now. We met each other at a gig and he'd heard of me and I'd heard of him. And it was one of those universe, you know, looking after each other type things. So we just managed to meet up one day and, you know, we've written probably close to 30 songs in that time.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. And now I invited my brothers to join that collaboration. We're starting to do some work together as well, which is cool. But yeah, I've got an EP in the bag. So, you know, these days, I don't know if you find as well that long play records, which we grew up with, right? EPs was like a bonus if someone did an EP, but, you know, you got your 10 or 12 songs on an album. But these days, with, you know, the dissolution slowly, although vinyl is coming back, with CDs and vinyl or hard copy of anything, it's kind of, you get 4 or 5 songs into a project and you go, you could release it now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I did get 5 songs in the bag, and I thought, I haven't had my last full-length record was in 2016. It was an album called Ghost Town.
Okay, that's a long time ago. Between
Wasn't that
long time
ago.
Well,
yeah. All right, it was a while ago.
It's not long.
I've done stuff in that time. Like we had a Murphy Brothers album out in that time, and bits and pieces. I've had the odd single.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I haven't had a full length since then. Yeah. So I had some songs in the bag, a couple with Rob, and a couple I used to write songs with Trav Bryant, who produced the last Murphy Brothers record. And I had a couple of things of my own. So, you know, when they don't have a home, I know because you're an artist as well, they don't have a home. So I grabbed that one, and they're a nice EP that's got a nice theme about it. And I got lucky that I'd been talking with a guy called Chris Tabone, who is the original drummer from the Bad Loves, one of my all-time favourite Australian groups, favourite groups in general. And I was actually tracking him down because I wanted his autograph. They just released the debut album, you know, re-released, I should say, on vinyl for the first time. So I said, I want your autograph on it, you know. And we got chatting and got to be, you know, pretty good friends. And I said, you want to play some drums on some of my music? He said, yeah, I'd love to. Particularly in Melbourne at the time, they had lots more lockdowns than we ever had. Yeah. So he said, I'm bored. You got any more songs? Yep.
Awesome.
So he's the drummer on all 5 songs. And, yeah, that's about a month away, I reckon. We're just getting the artwork finalised now. And isn't that you?
It was me.
He plays on all 5 songs, which is really cool. Like, it's, I pinch myself a little. And,
wow.
So that's coming out soon.
Yeah. And what do you like in the process of doing all this, the most? Like, because you do lots of performing, you've done massive support acts for people, massive concerts yourself, massive crowds to play in front of, crafting songs, writing songs. What do you like the best?
It's a great question. It's a great question. I just opened for Wendy Matthews and Grace Knight on the weekend at Downstone. They're the shows I love to do. That's my wheelhouse. I love it. It's what you work towards in your career, you know. But interestingly enough, and I say that because, interestingly enough, I've made that a big part of, you know, my life, but a big part of my musical existence. You know, the Australian Idol thing and then these kind of shows. And like you say, I did symphony, big crowds. I know how to work a crowd. I know how to do that. I didn't get into music to be a performer. I know that sounds ludicrous.
You seem like a performer to me, though. Like
I know.
That, as in, you seem that. That's why I asked you, because I thought...
A lot of people say that.
Yeah.
And I guess, and my mum, if my mum were here today, I mean, she's alive, but if she were here today, she'd say, oh, my God, like, such a show-off as a little kid. So I understand that side of my personality, but I didn't get into music because I wanted to... I never had visions of myself in front of big audiences. I did it because I wanted to make up songs. Yeah. Write songs, you know, is the correct term, but make them up, just make them up out of thin air. I can't read and I can't write music, but you can make songs up. And to this minute, that's why I love the question so much. What do I love the most? I love actually going to Rob's and we have a cup of tea or whatever, a cup of coffee. And he goes, right, got any ideas? Yeah. I go, yeah, I have actually. Yeah. And it might just be the smallest idea, or he might have one to show me. Yeah. And it's great. And I kind of got into the co-writing thing super late, although I'd written with my brothers, which is a bit of a no-brainer. But even that, we kind of did our own thing for a big part of the early days, as we've all grown older and we're, you know, old men now. We value each other's contributions. It's such a heightened level compared to when we were younger. So now it's kind of like I don't even finish a song. If there's a chance, I can show it to one of my brothers to finish off. Yeah. But, this guy, Travis Bryant, I was talking about before, and Rob Agostini now are the 2 guys that I really cut my teeth in the collaborating thing. And I'm kind of hooked. Like, I just love it. And I say to Rob all the time, I started this song, it feels really good, but I dare not finish it because I want to bring it to you. Yeah. You know, to have his input. He's you know, I was going to call him a genius then, but he's a super talented guy. He's
very good. I sometimes wonder, when is he going to run out of ideas?
Yeah, I know.
Because he never not has an idea.
Yeah, I know. Like, and it's normally always a good one too. Yeah. You know, so yeah, I'm addicted to it. I love, my favourite part of the week is, you know, we normally set aside a day to write and hang out. And now, because my brothers are involved as well, we're writing with him. But yeah, I love it more than I had some good shows on the weekend, so I still enjoy that side of my life.
Yeah.
But I've done a lot of it, you know, thousands of gigs in my life.
Yeah.
So
I think you're the hardest working musician in Australia. I reckon you are.
Really?
Like,
Yeah.
no, I mean, you. This is your full-time income.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't sustain that for their whole career.
Well, I'd be lying if I said it hasn't taken its toll on my mental health.
Yep.
You know, you can get to a point where you go, oh, my God. People say to me it's a really, really interesting thing. I thought of lovely analogies when they say, at least you're doing what you love.
Yeah, yeah.
And I always go, well, yeah, I love red velvet cake too. But I wouldn't like to eat it for breakfast and then at lunchtime have a slice of red velvet cake and then get to dinner and someone say, what do you feel like for dinner tonight? Would you like some red velvet cake? No. If I see another slice of red velvet cake, I'm going to throw up.
Yeah.
So it's a bit the same with what I do. It's not quite like that, but yeah, you know, you get to, particularly in the past, I would really work super hard. You could be doing 5 or 6 shows a week. And by the 6th show, the next day, you want to pick up your guitar and write a song. You go, nah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'd rather do anything but that. And it's not that extreme either. But yeah, you get pretty tired of, you know, normally you're doing 3-4 hour shows at a go. That's why I love the weekend. I like the glamour gigs these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a glamour gig?
Well, you go on and you sing for half an hour in front of the great Wendy Matthews or the great Grace Knight. Yeah. You know, I've done a ton of those in my life and, you get kind of spoiled. Half an hour, in and out, off you go. Yep. Sign a couple of autographs, go home.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what people probably think when they're saying, at least you're doing what you love. They probably think you are doing
that's right.
all of that all the time.
Totally.
And, like, if you could just get, you know, the money that you wanted and you would just be able to go and do that songwriting thing that you love every day.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so many components to the job. That you have to, I mean, it's the same as any job, any business. Like, there's all these things you have to do because the business requires you to do that to make it work. That you don't necessarily you don't love all of those things that you have to do.
You don't love most of them, really. You know, when it comes down to it, I love playing my guitar or a piano, or a bass, and I love singing and I love writing. That's about where it all ends. You know, who likes setting up the gear? No. Who likes packing the gear down? Who likes doing their accounts? Who likes quoting for shows? I loathe it. You know, that whole thing as well. Like, how much do you want to do it? I don't know. You tell me how much money you've got. You know, all that stuff. I hate it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Social media. Oh my God, don't we live in an amazing world now where you got to separate all this time in your week for that as well? I haven't posted anything in 3 days. What if they forget about me? What interesting happened in the last 2 days?
Hashtag having my coffee.
Yeah. Or you know, you rely on the old Flashback Friday. Here's something that happened 25 years ago that was cool because nothing happened this week that was interesting. It's funny. It's good that you can have a sense of humour about it. That probably stops you from going insane. Yeah, it's not all bad. It's a great life for sure. But you know, everything has a pro and a con, doesn't it? Every industry, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
So, what keeps you doing it all this time? Like, you haven't quit it. You've kept on going. Like, what do you think music does for you that you wouldn't be able to get anywhere else?
The quick answer, is been doing it so long. I really know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And you know, if I allow myself to be modest for a second, I'm pretty good at it. Like, I've gotten to a point now where, you know, even a bad gig, you've done pretty good. You know, there was a moment on the weekend. I was opening my gig with, because they did the Paul Simon songbook. Okay. So it wasn't necessarily everyone doing their own songs thing. So I mixed a couple of my songs in with a little set of crowd pleasers, because I'm warming up their crowd for them as they come out and do Paul Simon. And I opened my gig with Oh No, Not You Again by Australian Crawl, which is fairly new to me anyway. And I'm out there, and I realised at the first gig, there was only 2 shows, Astor Theatre and Mandurah. And I realised that I'd been road testing the song for a month or so with my iPad with the lyrics on it. And I've suddenly realised, I may not know the words to this, you know. And
oh, you mean in the middle of the gig? You
yeah,
I may not know the word.
Right. So I'm going, woke up early this morning, something's on your mind. And I'm feeling good. Yeah. And then it gets to there and I look out and there's a sea of faces. And I'm kind of shaking a little. On the inside, you can't see it. And then I get the second verse and I go, someone's just making stuff up, just till it comes back to you.
Yes.
And you go, oh, woke up early this morning, something's on mine, And really, like I said, I've been doing it so long, I didn't really notice. Lucky it was a James Reyne thing as well. Yeah. Kind of do, and no one really noticed. But, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I do it now because I've been doing it so long, I'm good at what I do.
Yeah.
And like I said, I do still love it. I get something out of it. A good gig feels good. When you go home and you go, I did well today.
Yeah.
Some days when everything's working great, your guitar sounds good, you're singing well. I find as well, if you have a really good singing day, that's a different feeling when you go home. You go, felt good. You know what you're a singer. You know what it's like when all the things you go to do, they all happen effortlessly.
Yeah.
When you go to do something, go, whoa, we're a bit tight today. Detune the guitar, capo on. Yep. So
instrumental.
A couple of instrumentals. So I do it for those reasons. And to be honest, this is the real reason I still do it after all these years. There's actually nothing else I'm that passionate about. I dabble in a bit of cooking. I like cooking. My wife's an amazing cook. So, I never really... some couples and they go, oh, he does all the cooking because I hate it. Or, he's hopeless, so I do all the cooking, We kind of... I would be happy to step up and be a good cook, but my wife's so amazing and enjoys it. We get the same buzz out of cooking that we do I do out of music. To me, they're similar.
Yeah. It's very quick. Do you use a recipe or you just do it by yourself?
Not often, I get the crux of how it's supposed to go. Yeah. But I mess around as well and I go, well, that'll work better than that,
Yeah, me too.
I got my own little tricks. I'm like, your mashed potatoes are amazing. Yeah, I can tell you how I did it. But I have to kill you.
Yeah. I think that's the creativity of,
I think so,
you know how it's sort of like whimsical. Will this turn out good? You try something new with the food, sort of like a music thing.
Yeah.
And I know people that are like, nah, I'll never risk that. I'll just use a recipe and know my food's going to turn out right. I'm just like, but what if it turns out even better?
Even amazing, yeah. Well, my wife takes it one step further. Like we'll have guests over.
Yeah.
And guests that we haven't had over that often or whatever, And she goes, I'm going to try such and such, some amazing flamboyant dish, and I go, have you made that before? She goes, no. And I go, shouldn't we stick to it's like doing a gig. Shouldn't we stick with something no, I'm gonna do Bohemian Rhapsody. First time, crowded room. Gonna do it. So she's really ballsy when it comes to that stuff. But you're absolutely right. The trick with mashed potato, by the way, is buttermilk. That's all I'm gonna say.
Buttermilk. Right.
Put a bit of milk in your mashed potato.
Yep.
Put buttermilk in. That's all I'm going to say. The rest you have to work out for yourself.
Start creating now. Awesome. And so when you get to a song that you're trying to work on, or you want to write a new song, do you have places that you go to draw that inspiration from, or does it just come? Does it just come to you every time? Okay.
Another great question. I used to talk about this stuff with my brother. Courtney, because he would say, I just haven't felt in the mood, or I sort of wait for, and I kind of discarded that way of thinking a long time ago, partly because I wanted to have new material anyway, do you know what I mean? So you go, I always feel like you're waiting around for inspiration. You could wait a long time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So no, I'm a big fan of music as well, right? So I often say that, if ever, my fingers fell off or and I couldn't sing anymore, it'd be okay. Life would be okay because I could listen to music. I was a fan of music long before I was a musician, right? I think most of us were, right? So it's easy for me to, I'll hear a track or a track really excites me and I go, oh, you can feel the juices where I go, I want to do one of those, or or it's just sparks an idea, and maybe I've just been, what's the word I'm looking for? Working that fertile soil in my brain for so long. It doesn't take much, for a little spark to go, oh, did you hear that? We could do that, or see what they did there, And I've got a nice piano at my house. So I'm one lucky person where I'll walk past it and go, I could just sit down for 4 minutes, play something. And 9 times out of 10, I'm playing stuff that doesn't exist, put some chords in and sort of, that's songwriting.
Yes.
So I probably songwrite more than and I don't always keep them. Sometimes you get to the end and you go, yeah, whatever. It was fun. But I couldn't hear that turning into anything. So, yeah, for me, the long answer to your question is, it doesn't take much for me to get an idea or to get in the mood for writing something.
Yep.
Yeah, and piano's really good for it because it's such a big monster. It's easy to make a mistake, but a mistake can easily sound good as well. And especially if you don't really always know what you're doing, that's fun. What did I just do? Keep doing it. Sing something over the top,
Yeah. Is that your first instrument, like your main instrument?
No, guitar is. But I've gotten to a point where I've done shows on piano. I've been booked as a singer that accompanies himself on piano.
You don't want to say pianist.
I wasn't going to. Well, it sounds like penis. I've been booked as a penis before. People might say I was a bit of a dick over the weekend. Yeah. So I have been booked. So I'm at that level.
Yes. But what I mean is sometimes what you love, is often that first thing that you want to know.
All 3 brothers started on the piano.
Yep.
And Court stuck with it. And Court's a bit of a monster on the piano. I mean, at the end of the day, I've played bits on my records and stuff. On Murphy Brothers, there might be a little bit, but why would you if he's there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things. Guitar is my main thing, but in the Murphy Brothers, when we play live, I'm the bass player, which was another big love of mine, was right at the beginning. I ended up a guitar player, I guess, in the band by default. Doesn't matter to me.
Do you prefer to play with your brothers or with other people? Do you find there's different things that you don't get?
I've liked both, but the real magic is with my brothers.
Yeah.
But, part of that, I guess, is the sibling mental telepathy thing that they talk about. Also, it's the sound, pretty effortlessly singing with my brothers.
Yeah.
You phrase the same way. It's a genetic thing, I guess, So there's all that. But not only that, I'm lucky that they're also my best friends.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Maybe it's been a long journey. It hasn't all been, beer and Skittles, but we're in a really good place.
Yeah,
we're in a really good place now, and I love them. Kieran's the best drummer around, and Court's the best singer and piano player. I'm lucky, and we've got really close friends that that will play with us. And that's aside from Murphy's Law as well, which is still kicking on.
Yeah.
Those guys have been in Murphy's Law. The 2 guys in Murphy's Law have been with us for 20 years, 25 years.
Yeah, wow.
So we pick the right guys most of the time.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's a heartache for some people, and that causes them a lot of frustration and ups and downs, finding all that stuff. And,
yeah.
So it's good that you've got the the support there, and I think that builds a platform for you to go to the next level and the next level and the next level. Like if you're not having to kind of just, we've got these relationship issues in the band, and it makes it.
There's lots of different ways to do it, though, isn't there? Like I think about the Whitlams sometime. I remember in the early days, Tim Friedman, I think once the original core group was 3 guys, a couple of the guys died, I think. And then he got guys to be in the Whitlams.
Yeah.
But it's Tim Friedman.
Yeah.
And he's had the same 3 guys for 20 years now or whatever. But I don't, we know song co-writes on they're his songs, he sings them. They're done his way. So there's that way of having a band. And if the other guys are, I don't mind, I'm in a cool band,
Yeah.
So I feel like that might be the dynamic in Coldplay as well. Who's in Coldplay?
Yeah, Chris.
Chris Martin. Can you think of anyone else? They got a pretty good gig though, you know. But then you've got other bands where Fleetwood Mac is a great example. Who's fighting with who on any particular day, right?
Yeah, and that's like their signature thing, right?
Right. And you go, but the magic happens. But gee whiz, trying to keep them, you know, apparently, it's 5 limos turn up to the gig.
Oh, really?
I think so, yeah. It's pretty separate. Well, the last one, Lindsay wasn't even in the group.
Yep.
Yeah, they're all in their 60s, early 70s or whatever, and it's like, I can't work with Lindsay a moment longer. Well, I'm not talking to her, you know.
Yeah.
Christine was gone for 15 years or something. She said, all right, I'll come back. You got bands like that. Yeah. And then you got bands like the Black Crowes where it's just like there's no one aside from the 2 brothers from the original lineup, like on their 7th lead guitarist. Do you know what I mean? Their 7th keyboard player. You know, they're one of those bands that just rotating roster of people. They are hard to keep together, bands. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And so do you enjoy having the different things where you've got your solo projects, you've got your different things that you do? Like, do you enjoy having that variety of
You've been asking some good questions today, haven't you?
Yeah, that's what I do.
Making me think. Yeah, I do. I tell you what, I do. Because being in charge of your own thing, you know, you do have to show, you know, bring a song to your brothers who you're working with, and there's a bit of the old, that one doesn't move me, or that one's, you know what I mean? Whereas when you're doing your own thing, you go, I only got one person to ask.
Yes.
You know, normally I agree with myself, you know. It's a usual thing that I do.
9 times out of 10.
9 times out of 10 we're on the same page. But the only difference being is doing the solo thing, you've got that creative freedom and the luxury of, you know, you choose the album cover, you do the whole lot. You really get to be in charge. But it's pretty lonely. Do you know what I mean? Great example is this EP that I've got coming out, no matter how far away, on all your streaming services and available on iTunes. My brother Kieran did the artwork for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And they're probably on there somewhere as well. I think Court's having a sing on one of the tracks. Because we're that tight, you know what I mean? So sometimes I'll do a track and I go, I really should have saved that for the Murphy brothers. You know, it's really good. It's like, I'm trying to think of, there's not too many bands where the solo careers of any of those members have equaled or been better than the band. You know what I mean? Like, you've probably got a few Stones records in your collection, am I right? How many Mick Jagger solo records have you got? None, right? And they're probably okay. But with the exception of, you know, the ex-Beatles, you'd buy a John Lennon record any day or a Paul McCartney, George Harrison. Even... and I don't feel bad about saying this because the likelihood of Neil Finn watching this podcast is could
very
be
low.
Yeah.
It's fine, you can say it.
I adore Neil Finn, right?
Yeah.
But when he makes a Crowded House record, there's a different energy.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And really, I can't think of, with the exception of probably his last solo record, which was heavenly, called Out of Silence. You'd play a Crowded House record every time. So I'm aware of that on my own lower level than that, you know, that Murphy Brothers is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
You know, Court made a great solo record a few years ago. It's a great record and I love it. And I've made some good music on my own too. But when we get together, the magic is a bit, you know, it's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's good to have those different outlets, I think.
I think so
makes
too.
You more dynamic and bring, you know, and more appreciative maybe of like when you come to, if you've always just had what you've always had, you don't know any different. You don't realise, other people don't have this like symmetry of people or synergy of people, you know, moving
Well, even
together.
Kieran, the drummer in Murphy Brothers, my brother, he has a side project called the Rough Houses, which is a rockabilly band.
Okay.
And he writes all the songs in that.
Yep.
And he's the lead singer. He stands up and drums.
Oh, yeah.
And so all three of us have something.
Yeah.
You know, he wanted to do rockabilly. I can't imagine the Murphy Brothers making a rockabilly record, but Kieran's, I'm making them, you know.
Yeah. So it's good that you got the freedom to do that and then enough time to explore those things.
Once upon a time, and I mean a long time ago, we wouldn't have had that freedom. It was a bit like, what do you mean you're doing a solo record? Have we got a band or we haven't got a band, you know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's been, like I said, it's been a long journey.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. It's good advice for people that are starting out their own bands and stuff, and they're trying to work out how to manage that stuff, because that can become difficult for people.
Communication is the name of the game. 100%. 100%. Do you know, there's a great bit of audio from that last Beatles documentary, forgotten his name, Peter, doesn't matter, the Get Back documentary, where George is having a conversation with John, because he's got this backlog of songs. He's really hit his stride as a songwriter. But with John Lennon and Paul McCartney in the band, he's relegated to 2 songs an album. And he goes, I wouldn't mind making like an album just to get them out there, get them out of my system, you know. And then he's kind of explaining in his own words to John, and it sort of make this bit more special again as well, you know what I mean? It's almost save your good songs for it, blah, blah, blah. And I can't remember what John says in response to that, you know, something along the lines of, you know, well, wouldn't we then, this wouldn't be taken as seriously, the Beatles he means, you know. But I remember thinking, God, imagine if they had. So it was like, imagine if they had just made a solo record and carried on, rather than, you know, they felt like, oh, well, we just need to end it. Do you know what I mean? It was always like he had a solution to their frustrations with each other, and, you know, well, let's just make a solo record, come back and you know, carry on. But it was almost like, and I understand that way of thinking as well. If you want to do that, we may as well finish. Why are we going to go off and make solo records and come back and make a Beatles record? But, you know, that does work for a lot of groups, including ours. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so that's interesting to talk about all those other, all your mentors and the other bands, and you seem to be very knowledgeable about like the music industry and lots of, you know, like some, I don't know, I don't really, for me, I don't have to, I don't know, I don't like getting involved in all those, the politics of other people's bands and knowing all that stuff, but that seems very interesting to you. That's, I think it's interesting for other people to hear about that stuff.
Yeah, well, look, I'm interested from a point of view, I guess I'm a little interested in human interaction anyway. So, like, like I said earlier about Chris Tabone playing drums on my record, so, you know, also I get to go, so tell me about the Bad Loves, you know, and that's great. I mean, I won't divulge any of, you know, that stuff, but it was lovely to have a bit of an insight as to the dynamics. Well, why did that guy leave the band? Why was he booted out? To me, I mean, people who don't care, I marvel at that. Where you go, such and such left the band. Okay, cool. Who'd they get next? I go, but why? You know what I mean? Why did they leave? Why were they booted out? I go, especially if it was great. Sometimes I don't care, you know. But you go, I find a great example is the Red Hot Chili Peppers, where they had those first couple of members or whatever, but then they had that, what I guess you'd call the classic lineup for the, what's the big album? Sex, Sugar, Blood, Magic, or whatever. I probably said that in the wrong order. Chad, Flea, Anthony Kiedis, and John Frusciante. A big record, exploded, so they became, you know, they were going well, and now they were a household name, you know. And then John Frusciante leaves. Yeah. And you go, I remember thinking, who would do that? I mean, I was young at the time, trying to make my way in the music business, and you go, you just had the biggest record in the world of the year, and you're going to leave the band, you know. So I was fascinated by that. They get Dave Navarro in the band, have another really cool record. I always loved that song Aeroplane off the next record. It's one of my favourites that they don't play anymore, I think, because the period with Dave Navarro in the band, they don't consider it a fond period, right? Yeah. All this stuff I find why? Why wasn't it, you know? Yeah. And then he left or was kicked out, I don't even know. And then John Frusciante came back, and I'm like, what? You know what I mean? To me, all that stuff. And then again, you know, 5 or 6 albums later, John Frusciante leaves, and they get this new guy in for 10 years, and then that guy leaves, and John Frusciante comes back. I'm going, man, if you're not interested in that, I don't know how you're not. You know, band dynamics, yet the other 3 guys there that's 30 years. 30 years, the 3 guys. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is interesting. Like, why do some people last that long? Yeah. And why don't others? Yeah.
Queen. You know, from when John Deacon joined the group, you know, and that's pre-Fame, pre-first record. So really their entire proper career, The 4 guys until Fred died, you know. And, I mean, everything now, there'd be a lot of people going, well, it's not you. They're now out with Adam Lambert and there's John Deacon doesn't play bass with them anymore. And, yeah, to me, it's like almost like chapter 2. Do you know what I mean? Their core recording years and performing years were those 4 guys.
Yeah.
No subs, no sackings or resignations, you know what I mean? So that's cool.
Yeah.
Even the Stones had Brian Jones booted out and Mick Taylor joined and Mick Taylor out and Ronnie Wood in and then Bill Wyman retired, you know. There's a bit of a open, shut door thing in the Stones. It's not too many bands that they had. U2, another one. So we're looking at 40 years now?
Yeah.
45 years, maybe?
Yeah.
And you go, the same 4 guys, no subs, no resignations, same 4 guys. I'm fascinated by that. How good do their relationships have to be to have been in the same band for 40 years or over 40 years?
Yeah.
Same 4 guys. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
I could talk about this crap all day.
You're very knowledgeable.
I bet you wish you hadn't asked.
No, I don't.
Everyone's gone.
They're not. We're just going to rename the show Good Vibes Trivia Music.
Yeah.
Show.
Welcome to the Good Vibes Trivia Show.
So what about your own career? Like, you've had so many great highlights and amazing experiences in music. Yeah, what are some of the best things that you've done so far?
Good question. It would be remiss of me not to mention the Australian Idol, thing. That was a real turning point for Courtney. Courtney had done it before me, like a year and a half before he was on season 2. Came 3rd, got pretty well known around Australia pretty quick.
Yeah.
So that changed everything for us, changed our dynamic in the band. Changed everything. Especially
around that time, like there wouldn't have been much social media.
No, it was the beginning of everything, It was the beginning of reality shows. It was the beginning of singing reality shows. It was the beginning of social media. I still marvel at that. I often say to people, I feel lucky people still know who I am from being on Australian Idol. And go, oh, that guy, Chris Murphy, he's still doing music, Just even having a conversation opened thanks to that. And I go, who won The Voice 2 years ago? Because I was on Australian Idol 16 years ago. Yeah, who won The Voice 2 years ago? Most people go, 2 years ago, I can't remember. Was it that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not a slight on those people, because everyone that goes on these shows are, 9.9 times out of 10 are amazing.
Yeah.
But we're living in a different world.
Yeah.
10 seasons of The Voice and 8 seasons of Australia's Got Talent and the same for X Factor.
Yeah.
And then Australian Idol, after my 4th season, had another 3. I think there were 7 seasons before it finished, and it's coming back. There's a lot of people to try to remember.
Yeah, and at that point, you're saying there wasn't that many shows on.
No.
So it was very memorable.
It was memorable, you remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone still remembers Shannon Nolan, Guy Sebastian, Casey Donovan, Courtney Murphy, Anthony Collier. Even the people on my year, Jessica Malboy is still one of the biggest stars in the country.
Yeah.
I was only 2 spots off her little position there.
Yeah, wow.
Do you know what I mean? When you think about it in terms of that, like...
Did you enjoy doing it?
I always used to liken it to a holiday in Bali.
Oh, okay.
Right? Check this analogy out.
Like getting sand rubbed into your back on a
No,
it was more like that kind of holiday.
It was more like it was some of the best, like, pinch yourself experiences.
Okay.
Like, oh my God. And then other days you're like, why did I do this?
Yeah.
Like, why did I subject myself to this? It was kind of that thing. Not so many of those days. I remember one of the camos saying to me, actually, I had a couple of really nice light bulb moments thanks to a couple of people on that show. And he said something along the lines, I wish you'd just enjoy this, more than you do.
Oh.
Yeah. And I went, well, what do you mean? He goes, come on, man. Like, you're a nobody yesterday. Now you're a star. Like, you're doing all these cool things.
Yeah.
And I saw his point.
Yeah.
From my point of view as well. It's easy to say that from behind the camera. Try to be in front of it, And, for everybody that loves you on TV, there's a lot of people that hate you, particularly if you're doing better than one of their favourites.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got a lot to deal with. It's a bit of a pressure cooker. But I got his point and if I had my time over, I'd probably try to enjoy that more than I did. It was pretty serious. People forget it was a competition.
Yeah.
There was a big record deal with Sony records up for grab for the winner, right? And normally at that point, you notice that the runner-up got one as well. Witness Shannon Knoll, witness Anthony Collier, witness Emily Williams. Do you know what I mean? So you go, strong chance that one and two are definitely going to get a record deal. In my year, Dean Guy, who was third, he got one as well. So, I was taking it seriously as well. God, don't slip up, work hard, you know. I was 30 when I was on the show.
Yeah.
So it was kind of felt like my 20s were gone. I'd recently gotten married. We were having a baby. I already had 2 kids. I want this to work. Felt almost like a last chance thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, some days when I was saying about the Bali holiday, some days you'd be like, man, we had nasi goreng for breakfast. We went for a swim. I've been drinking bintangs all day. It was amazing. And then the next day you go, I drank a bit of the shower water. I got barley belly. I left my wallet in the... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the day after that, and you go, but it was great. We went to the safari park and da-da-da-da. And then the next day you go, torrential rain all day. So it was almost like that, the whole thing. Like I said, some days I remember I tried Dom Perignon for the first time.
Oh.
We were at a function. It's only like $300 a bottle.
Yeah.
And we were there. I can't remember what the function was, some Channel 10 thing at night. And they're wandering around with glasses of Dom Perignon. And you got to remember that with the exception of Damien Leith and Bobby Flynn from memory, everyone was like, if they weren't 16, they were 21 or, so they had no idea about champagne. But I'm there with Mark Holden going, whoa, this is good. And he said, getting into the Bollinger, are you, Murph? I said, no. Bollinger, into the Dom Perignon. I said, yeah, it's my first time. It's pretty nice. Have you ever had it?
No, I'm not champagne.
Oh, really? Champagne. Yeah. Me neither, except I am.
That was good.
It was real good, yeah. So, things like that, and you just go, wow, I only had it just recently, actually. I can't remember what that was for off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I hadn't had it in 15 years. You don't buy a $300 bottle of Dom Perignon every day. So, things like, that's just a small example. Singing in front of 100,000 people at the MCG for the AFL Grand Final in 2006, and the Eagles won that year. Not that I care particularly, but I was West Australian.
That's iconic, though.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and memorable.
So, it was memorable.
Yeah.
I tell you what was more memorable was, singing to 100,000 people was kind of cool in a stadium, but we were the pre-show entertainment, but also was like a little power group. We had Daryl Braithwaite, John Paul Young, Brian Mannix from Uncanny X-Men, and Joe Camilleri. Now, Joe Camilleri from the Black Sorrows, the first band I saw live, I was 13 years old.
Yep.
The Black Sorrows came to Albany Leisure Centre where I grew up. And I got to go with my cousin and 2 women that worked where my mum worked. They said, they're going to Black Sorrows, do you want to go? I said, yeah, I want to go. And so I just remember watching. And this was the halcyon days of Black Sorrows. I think the Hold On To Me record had just come out. So they're doing, Chain to the Wheel and Hold On To Me, all the hits. And Vika and Linda were still in the band. And Vika, at one point, she looked down. I was like front row, this 13-year-old kid. She winked at me. And I opened for Vika and Linda years and years and years and years later with my brothers. And I said to her, you winked at me when I was 13. But anyway, so I saw it. That was the first show I ever saw was the Black Sorrows. And I could see them all chatting around. We was pre-show, before we were about to go out and do our bits. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, it's like 4 of my heroes standing in a semicircle chatting. Oh my God. And I just sort of casually sidling over. And I got to a point where they realised I was hanging around waiting for a break in their conversation to say hi. Yeah. Big fan sort of thing. And as I did, they all sort of opened up the circle to see me there. And Joe Camilleri turns around and he goes, oh, hi, Chris, how you going? Yeah. And I went, oh, my God, Joe Camilleri knows who I am. Are you joking? That was I remember Court telling me a story, similar thing happened to him. He was doing the rehearsals for Grease after he finished Idol. He went on the road with the Grease Spectacular. And he said the day, because John Farnham was in it, but he only had the one song. So they'd been rehearsing for months without Farnham. He just sort of strolls in one day and goes, g'day everyone, how's it going? And does his song. And he goes, yeah, the day there's a real buzz in the room when Farnham was going to turn up, because Farnham's like, he's like Jesus.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So he is a bit of a Jesus.
Come on, So he said there was a buzz in the room. Yeah, I know. There's a buzz in the room. John Farnham's coming today. Farnham's coming today. And he reckons Farnham walked in and went, how you going, everyone? G'day, mate. How are you? And then saw Courtney and went, g'day, Courtney. How you going? And Courtney went, John Farnham just pointed me and said, g'day, Courtney. How you going? And he goes, it's a surreal feeling.
Yeah.
And I experienced it myself. Joe says, g'day, Chris. How you going? I said, I'm good, Joe Camilleri. How are you going?
Yeah.
And we had the best chat. He said, I've been watching a bit of the show. He said, my girlfriend makes me watch the show. But he said, I really like what you do.
Yeah.
Gone, well, I really like what you do. And then I told him that I first concert I ever went to was the Black Sorrows, and I was a big fan. And the funny thing was, my wife, Sherry, was pregnant with our daughter at the time. And we knew we were having a girl as well. I was away from home. And I was clucky. We're having our first, baby together. And he had his 18-month-old daughter on his hip.
Yeah.
And it's weird because she's probably about 17 years old now, 18 years old. But little Charlie on his hip as he was chatting to the boys. And as I was talking to him, I must have kept glancing at his cute little daughter. And he goes, you got kids? I said, well, I've got 2 stepkids, but we're having my first daughter is about 6 months away from entering the world. And he goes, you want to cuddle?
Yeah.
I went, yeah. And he said, here you go. And he gave me Charlie. And she was mint. Yeah. She, some kids are funny. She just sat on my hip like that and sort of nestled in while I was chatting with her dad. And it was one of the, once again, oh my God, what is going on right now,
Yeah.
Silly little moment that I'll never forget. And I've spoken to Joe since over the years. We stay in touch. He ended up doing a duet. I've got an EP available on Spotify and Apple Music and all those things called Happy Boy. And on that record, we did a duet of an old Stones song called Factory Girl. Oh. So you can find that, folks, on your thing. I think I've actually got CD stock in the old stock room there as well. So I think if you go to my website, you could, if anyone still listens to CDs. But yeah, so that's kind of, you forget you've done all this stuff sometimes. And go, that's right, I recorded a song with Joe Camilleri. Yeah. Hello. Yeah. So that's cool. Yeah.
Well, it's good to have so much going on that you don't, you're just on to the next thing. Like,
I'll tell you a funny story. We, when I was about 17 or 18, we'd had Murphy's Law going for a few years, or a couple of years, and I've been feverishly writing, wanted to make a record. We'd already been into a studio, so we'd recorded some stuff. I wanted to put a CD out, And our dad was looking after us from a management point of view at the time, and very encouraging. And when I'd got up a set of songs that I thought were cracking, and the band was sounding good, and we were doing gigs and saving our money, we had a big kitty, and we were going to go and record this record. Now, I'm telling you this story because I remember thinking to myself, because, when you're at that age as well, you kind of got teachers and parents and people saying, your music's all very good and well, but you got to keep studying. You got to have a plan B or whatever. I remember hearing that, not so much from my parents, to their credit. My parents were amazing. My parents are both artists anyway, so I think they got the whole passion for being creative. But, I had the odd uncle or teacher saying, pick your grades up a little. And so I remember it's always in the back of your mind as I just want to make an album. And have it out there for people to buy, have a cover, and you wrote all the songs. Yeah. Because, I may just cut my hair and go and get a job, and, and I'll be able to tell my grandkids or whatever, we made an album once. Yeah. I just want to make an album. Yeah. Right? And then that album does its thing, and you go, 2. I just want to do 2 albums. Because it could all end tomorrow. Yeah. I think we've improved. I'm singing better now. Yeah. I'm writing better now. The band's playing better. We look a bit cooler. You know what you look like when you're 19. When you're 21, you look a bit cooler. Just 2 albums. Yeah. You make that second album. 3 albums. I just want to make 3. And I'll be happy for it all to end, and go and get a job. Anyway, so I marvel as I sit here chatting with you today going, just 6 albums and a couple of solo records and Australian Idol and recording with Joe Camilleri and RAC Arena for Symphony. Just all those things.
Yeah.
And just, you know what I mean? It's never ending. So I love that everything for me, it almost spurs you on. I just have to open for Wendy Matthews and Grace Knight at the Astor Theatre, and then I could it doesn't matter what happens. And I'm looking at it. Just one more album with my brothers. You know. So that's funny to me. One album and I'll be happy, he said 25 years ago. What is it? Nearly 30 years ago.
Yeah. That's awesome. You've had some amazing experiences, and
yeah, I have. Yeah,
it's great.
Thanks.
Yeah,
thanks.
How do you deal with the downs of the job? Like,
good question.
A lot of people
saving that for the last, hey?
Yeah. A lot of people. Well, a lot of musicians that I talk to struggle with, especially when they're going to do something. Like, obviously, you've got that build up, and then there's that down afterwards. It's just natural. It happens. Something's happened, and then you're like, oh. You know, like, do you do something the next day after it's happened? Like, do you know? Oh, I know this. I'm going to have this massive high. I'm going to prepare myself to experience the low. Like, do you just know that it's going to come? Yeah.
But that's taken a long time to get to. You know, I remember many years ago, the Breakwater Tavern, not the one that's there now. Do you remember the old one? Right, so we used to play there on a Sunday sesh. And in the late 90s was still a good era for live music in Perth. And I remember doing a gig there, and place was thumping, it was full, Sunday evening, you know. And we played well, and it was just electric, you know, it was great. And then the gig finished, and the rules were pretty strict back then, as I recall. And Hillary's wasn't what Hillary's is now as well. So the pub, closing time, 8 o'clock or whatever it was, and the place emptied. And I remember carting my amp. I had a Fender Twin, which is heavy, back out to my car. I think the other guys had gone. It was like a ghost town at Hillary's as I'm walking out, a guitar in one hand, a Fender Twin in the other, and just feeling so deflated that half an hour ago, I was a rock star.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was wearing a crushed velvet red shirt, slinging a Les Paul in front of a packed room, going nuts, playing Remedy by the Black Crows. And now I'm carting this heavy bloody amp out to my car, black, and all the shops are closed. I felt really, to me, it was both sides of being in music. It was like glamour one second and absolute banal, you know, pedestrian. We didn't even have roadies. Carting my own shit out to the car. I've never had a roadie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We always thought we'd hit the big time if we ever got a roadie. I'm 46 years old. I still don't have a bloody roadie.
Yeah. If anyone wants to be Chris's roadie,
yeah,
you can put that in the comments.
but I'm a bit of a cheapskate. I don't pay.
No, it's a work experience, John.
It's well,
of course.
It's a very glamorous job. If you've listened to the rest of the podcast. And yeah, so that was the beginning for me of going, right, you got to keep that mental health in check.
Yeah.
That it's not all pizza and fairy tales. Do you know what I mean?
had that thought to yourself at that point.
I did, yeah.
That's
I've gone, wow,
mature.
this is, well.
It is.
Thanks.
Because a lot of people struggle with that.
I was ready for Idol because I was older and I had those experiences and I'd seen my brother do it. So I knew there was a weird feeling coming home after that finished, like,
yeah,
you know, the phone didn't ring for a little while. I think everyone thinks you're off touring with the Rolling Stones or something, you know. And it was really quiet. The phone wasn't ringing. I couldn't go anywhere. I was really famous, but I had no work, you know, because everyone thought I was off on tour or making records or, you know.
Yeah. It's
so
strange.
It was really strange. So you had to keep yourself in check with that as well. And even recently I got asked to do Ilan Kidron's position in Symphony at RAC Arena. So he's the Potbellies guy.
Okay.
And I'd done it last year. I got asked to do it when Our Borders was still up.
Mm-hmm.
So Symphony is a dance music show to an orchestra.
Yeah.
And 5,000 people at RAC Arena. That's my jam, you know. I'll be happy to do that gig again. Pretty nerve-wracking. You got to put your big boy pants back on again and go, you've done this, you've done Idol, you've done some things. Prepare and do it. And loved it. And then he had a baby back in whenever it was last year, June, or it was like she was only a week away from having their baby. And he said, I didn't realise Perth's so far away. Can you get that guy who covered for me last year to do it again? So I got this call.
Awesome.
And I said, yeah. I had some unfinished business that I won't go into about the show from last year. I felt like I could do better. So I dealt with the nerves again. And then I remember thinking again, on the Sunday after the show, you're going to play to 5,000 screaming people at RAC Arena with a symphony orchestra behind you, with your guitar slung on like a bloody hero.
Yes.
And then the next day it's going to be, we're out of bread, Dad. Can you go to the shop? Yeah, okay. Hey, who moved the... You know what I mean? Like, if you're not prepared that that's going to happen, it can be a bit of a crashing thud. Are you joking? Last night I was a big deal, you know.
Yeah. You get the bread.
You get the bread, yeah. But I am prepared for all that stuff now, so it's pretty easy. I guess it's easy if you've been in it a long time as well to know about the superficial side. You know, I know that I got into music for the right reasons. I got into music because I love music. I wanted to write songs. I wanted to sing them and play them. And I wanted to make records, you know. So really everything after that's a bonus. So the whole seeing your face we used to collect the clippings from the paper and all that stuff was really important to you. And then when you've had so much of that, I've been on the cover of TV Week. I don't even know if TV Week still exists, but I've been on the cover of it.
Pretty good.
Woman's Day. You know, all those things, and you become numb to it because you know it's all superficial. You hear one day, gone the next. There'll be some other pleb from some show we've never heard of, or, you know. It's funny, I'll do a radio interview or something, and my mum will go, someone said you were on the radio today. Why did you tell me you were going to be? And I go, I'm sorry, Mum, I forgot. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, you've heard me on the radio a million times. I understand I'm her son, and, you know, I get that. But it's a lovely moment. You didn't tell me. And I go, I forgot that it might still be interesting after 30 years, you know. But it's lovely that she still loves that. And Dad, they both love our music. But, yeah, when you realise that it's all just a big game, you know, you're lucky to survive. You're lucky to still be... I'm lucky I get paid to play music. And people are still interested if I've got some new music coming out. You know, I've got a base of fans that, oh, great, new Murphy Brothers record or new Chris Murphy music. You know, I'm not setting the world on fire. I'm not Beyonce. But, you know...
Yeah, but we need everything.
We need everything.
We need all those things. And it's about what connects with you. Like, you know, your music might connect with people that Beyonce's never going to connect with those people.
Totally.
You know, your music helps people get through their dark times. And I don't think anything can replace that. You know, like it helps people get through their heartbreak. It helps people feel an emotion that they've never ever felt before, or they couldn't express from themselves before. Like some of the tracks you've got on Spotify that I've listened to are like incredibly emotive when it's just your voice and there's nothing else there. Really powerful music. And so it's been so great to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
And sharing all those deep and meaningful things and some of your highlights and
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's so great.
Thanks for the good vibes.
Yeah. And thank you so much for singing the theme song.
Also my pleasure.
Awesome.
Written by our friend Robbie.
Yeah.
Robbie.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So if you're still watching the show and you haven't tuned out yet, make sure you click subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you can rate us on there. That really helps us to grow the show. So thank you so much. And we'll see you again on another show.
Time in world history. The good vibes, the good vibes show. So good. The good vibes, the good vibes show. It's gotta be good. The good vibes, the good vibes show. The good vibes, the good vibes show.